Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Shabbat on the Beach. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so wonderful to be out here in this setting. We like to say that this may be how God originally intended it. Worship wasn't meant to be contained by four walls. We, the Jewish people, originally worshipped in the desert and on mountaintops, and in Jerusalem, in the open air. We did it because this is where we are surrounded by God's creation. Sand and sea, sun and sky, feeling the breeze, feeling the warmth. God certainly dwells in our sanctuary, and God surely dwells here among us as well. I'm Rabbi Michael Friedman, joined by Cantor Julia Cadrain, Rabbi Zach Pleasant, Mike Lentowski, our accompanist, and by all of you as well. If this is your first Shabbat on the beach, raise your hand. Excellent. Oh, there are more of you than just those who raised their hand. I know that. And it's okay if you didn't raise your hand. But this is the time where we can greet one another. And especially if there's someone near you who you don't yet know. For those of you who are new, it'll be very easy to find someone you don't yet know. Temple Israel folks, maybe I am less comfortable shaking hands than I was a week or two ago. But if we can greet one another, at least with warm words and a wave, let's take a few moments to say hello and wish one another Shabbat Shalom.
That was such a nice welcome.
Yeah. No,
I'm glad that you said that because it's like so shifting, like about the shaking hands. Like, it's nice to do that. Yeah.
Different.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, good idea.
Things that we can't do.
Exactly.
So
So there's like a nice central crowd tonight.
what's his name?
Oh, so like the teenager? It definitely.
I had him 7 years ago.
Right.
We are here basking in God's light, And yet, as Jews, we are commanded to bring more and more light into the world, and that's why we have our Shabbat candles inside our windproof terrarium, or whatever that thing may originally have been. Now it's our outdoor Shabbat candle holder, right? And we're pleased to have Amy and Bruce Schneider for the honor of lighting the candles. The blessing is on page 1.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. So we're moving into our Kabbalat Shabbat section where we sing psalms that help us get ready to embrace the peace and the joy that Shabbat brings. And I think we have these psalms because sometimes it takes us a minute to be ready for Shabbat. We might be wound up from the week or still thinking about whatever it was that happened on the way here or yesterday. So with these psalms and with raising our voices together, we begin to let some of that go and to enjoy this present moment as Shabbat comes in.
Page 11.
Let us sing unto God, sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God, sing unto God a new song. La, 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 la.
Page 12. Friends, in synagogues throughout the Jewish world, about 500 years ago, as the poem that we know as Lachado was written, there began to be a tradition of, at the last verse of that poem, which you'll find on pages 19 and 20, the congregation would rise and would face the entrance to the sanctuary. That's because in much of the Western Hemisphere, synagogues face Jerusalem, face east. And the setting sun in the west is where the darkness of Shabbat first enters. And so we would stand in synagogues throughout the Western Hemisphere and face the entrance, the setting sun, westward at the last verse of Lachado. Early Reformed Jews didn't so much have a preference for necessarily facing any particular direction. We built our sanctuaries facing whichever direction was convenient. But since we're out here, even though this is our bima southward, we're going to ask that you not stand and face the parking lot, because wherever the Shabbat bride may enter our lives from, it is not from the parking lot. It is much more likely from the direction of the setting sun, the end of the day, the end of the work, the conclusion of God's creation. And so at the end of Lachado, at the last verse of Lachado, we will rise as a congregation and we will face westward. Page 19.
La 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 la
עצרת קלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, יא לה 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 Lachado לי, יא לה 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 לקראת כלה, יא לה 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 בני שבת, בני שבת נקרא, יא לה 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 Lachado לי, יא לה 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 לקראת כלה, יא לה 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 בני שבת, בני שבת נקרא
We remain standing and turn to page 26 for our call to worship. Baruch Hu. You may be seated. I spent a lot of this week watching the Olympics, as I imagine many of you did as well. And watching the Olympics this week, I realized that I learned a lot about statements of faith. I heard a statement of faith from Simone Biles when she said, "I'm going to be okay, even if I don't do this thing that the whole world is telling me I am supposed to do, that I must do." I heard a statement of faith from those who supported her, affirming that it is okay to not be okay, including a statement of support from USA Gymnastics. These statements are relatively new for the world of sports, but the whole world is better for having heard them. As we turn now to our statement of faith as Jews, the words we repeat over and over in each service, can you maybe hear or feel or learn something new from this statement of faith, from one of our oldest prayers in Judaism, the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Ve'ahavta
Page 31.
Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha Ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele Asher anochi mitzavecha Hayom al levavecha V'shinantam levanecha V'dibarta b'ham V'shivtecha b'veitecha Uv'lechtecha v'derech Uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha U'kshartam lehot al yadecha והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לעולכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
One of the great moments in our people's history was when we gathered with our feet in the sand at the shore of the sea. It was not the Long Island Sound. And we were not quite as comfortable and relaxed as we are this evening. We all have an image of what that might have felt like, it might have been like. The multitude who just came out of slavery in Egypt, escaping toward freedom only to be blocked by the water and pursued from behind by Pharaoh's army. Perhaps we have that vision in our mind because we've watched a couple movies. The Ten Commandments for a certain generation, or the Prince of Egypt for another. But whatever our image is, usually what we think of is Moses waving his arm in some dramatic fashion, and God's wind coming and splitting the waters. There is another story in rabbinic tradition about how the waters parted. We were all encamped, anxiously, nervously, worried like never before at the shore of the sea. Even Moses in this story did not know what to do, when one man by the name of Nachshon took off his sandals and started walking. And everybody watched him. First the water was up to his ankles, and then soon to his knees, and then his waist, and then his shoulders, and they thought he would probably stop at that point. Nachshon kept walking. And just as the water was coming up over his mouth and his nostrils, the sea split. Nachshon in this story demonstrated courage and faith that if he started walking, God would help. In every generation since, we Jews have put one foot in front of the other, walking sometimes into the water, sometimes into the unknown, but knowing always that God is with us. We sing Mi Chamocha together. Page 33. Lifnei Moshe Miriam, Ze Eliyahu.
yameru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
Page 34.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, l'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
God shelter us.
Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath your wings, oh Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, oh Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, l'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
Friends, it's become our practice when we come out here to do things differently. If we were simply to take what we do in the sanctuary and bring it out of here, we would have missed the point terribly. And so it is out here that we wear different clothes, we nosh and drink, which is good. Sometimes we take off our shoes and let our toes play in the sand, which is great. And as we enter the amidah, we're going to invite in a few moments, we're going to invite each of you to find your own space. In the sanctuary, we tend to be fixed. We come, we choose a seat. Sometimes we always choose the same exact seat. And we tend to stay there. We just go up and down a little bit. Out here, we should do it differently. So you can stay in or at your seat if you choose. But in a few minutes, as we rise for the amidah, we're going to invite you to find a spot. Maybe even, like Nachshon, dip your feet in the water if you want. Find a spot where you feel like you can do the work, the prayer that you need to do, that you can share what is in the innermost chambers of your own heart. The amidah begins on page 36. Please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi hagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon,
גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגיד אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We encourage you to find your own space as we complete the amidah individually. Everyone, please be seated.
These are words from this week's Torah portion, set to music famously and beautifully by Debbie Friedman. And I'm so grateful to have our congregant Felix with me here to share this melody with you. And you shall love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently to your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you rise up, and when you lie down, and when you lie down, and you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be for frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
Thank you, guys. That melody felt healing. It was calming and it was healing, and it's the perfect transition to our healing moment, where we need even more healing. Healing is something that we can always have more of in this world. And so as we turn to Misha Berach, our prayer for healing, we think of anyone in our lives, in our community, who might be in need of healing of the body, of the mind, or of the soul. Those who have been made known to us include Batya Leah Bat Herschel Udvora, Harold Batt, John Callaghy, Frida Easton, Steve Elliott, Sarah Goldstein, Brad Hammer, Jill Isaacs, Iris Jaffe, Dan Connor, Phyllis Kamansky, Carol Kurzman, Maggie Mulcahy, Jim Muller, Lorraine Riccio, Liam Richards, and Kathy Soroka. And if there are other names in the community, in this holy community right in front of us, we are going to invite them into this space, but we're going to try something a little bit different tonight. We're going to invite them into this space all at once, creating what I like to call sort of a holy cacophony. So I'm going to count to 3, and if anyone has a name for healing, shout it out so it can join with all of those other names and be held all together by our community. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. we hold all those names in our heart as we turn to our moment of Misha Berach.
Those who sow in tears, we pray, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, will reap in joy. Will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, will reap in joy. Will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, will reap in joy. I was driving home from work the other night, and I felt drawn to call a family friend. We hadn't spoken in months, but she's the kind of close friend I always feel comfortable calling, no matter how much time has passed. As soon as she answered the phone, though, I could tell something was wrong. "Are you angry with me?" she asked. "No, not even a bit," I could easily and honestly respond. "What makes you think I'm angry with you?" Well, she said she hadn't heard from me in months. She had watched the many changes in my life unfold from afar. With sadness, she wondered why I didn't call to fill her in, to share the updates with her, to invite her to join in the celebrations. In truth, I had simply been too overwhelmed with all the transition to call, but I understood that I had gone wrong with her. After all, she was someone who had supported me, been part of my journey since I was a child, supporting me through difficult times in my teenage years and beyond. She wanted to be remembered, to be thought of, to be reached out to and included, not just in my past, but in my present. In this week's Torah portion, Akev, God says, "Take heed not to forget God. For when you may have all you need, your spirit may become haughty, and you might forget God, who brought you out from the land of Egypt, from the home of slaves. You might be tempted to say, 'It was my own power and the might of my own hand that has gotten me this far.'" Several days before the conversation with my friend, I had read these verses with interest. They started me thinking about the idea of investing in those people and things that ground us, even and especially during the good times, even when we don't particularly need them. When I realized the powerful parallel between these verses and the conversation with my friend, it felt like God was giving me a little wink. Just as my friend reminded me, so did God remind the Israelites. Don't turn to me only when you desperately need me. Keep our connection alive during the good times too. Once we are out of a crisis moment, once we have the strength, the support, the nourishment of manna and water in the desert, in the wilderness, it is easy to forget that we ever needed help in the first place. But remembering those who buoy and anchor us, even after the storm has passed, can strengthen our relationships in ways that will reverberate through our future, through the celebratory moments and through the broken ones. Devoting our time to those who support us also keeps us humble. It affirms that we needed help to reach this moment. That's why God tells us, "Remember all the ways I helped you." because we're not supposed to be able to do this hard business of life alone. So back to my story. I apologized to my friend many times and assured her of my love and appreciation for her. I told her that she's part of my past, my present, and my future. She told me she'll put me back on the list for her big birthday celebration. So I think we're okay. As we begin this new chapter together at Temple Israel with this new clergy team, I pray that together we can discover more moments like these, when the ancient words of Torah echo our own lives so profoundly that it feels like God is winking at us. May we take the wisdom from our sacred text to stay present to those who helped us through our wilderness, even when we find ourselves safe in the promised land. May we remember that help is available to us and that it is okay to need it. May we stay grateful for those who have brought us to this moment. Ken Yehi Ratzon.
Yasher Koach, Cantor. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
We rise for Aleinu. Page 104. Page 104.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzeh bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
There are those in our lives who have been an important part of our past, yet who are no longer here in physical form to be a part of our present or our future. Still, they are with us. Their souls dwell among us, near us, and within our hearts, as well as with God, under the wings of the divine presence, as we say. And so now we turn to words of memory, Kaddish Yatom, remembering those whom we have loved and lost, either in recent days or at this season in years gone by. Our Temple Israel community is within the period of Shloshim, the 30-day period of mourning for Elliot Sif, husband of Marlene, father of Brad and Merrill, Brian and Michelle, grandfather of Jordan, Jackson, Adam, and Noah of blessed memory. If you're remembering someone who you've lost recently, we invite you to share their name aloud at this time, if you choose. And so too on this evening, we observe the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the passing of Dina Axelrod, Richard Bacon, Irving Becker, Mark Braun, Mac Carter, Lillian Krein, Gerald Nelson Finney, Minnie Green, Alan Handler, Edith Israel, Sidney Levy, Lillian Levy, Rachel Luderman, Ilsa Marks, Jack Mordo, Judy Gans Nathanson, Philip Rafison, Goldie Rosenblum, Sally Schindler, Elizabeth Shore, Betty Snyder, Frida Sobel, Alessandra Steen, David Stern, Celia Summer, Ruth Swisslow, Antal Valley, Robert Weinberg, Alan Wisser, and anyone who you would choose to add to that list at this time. For all those we have named out loud or in our hearts, we say, Zichronam Livracha. May they always send us many blessings. We turn to page 107 for Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivrach le'elam u'lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalom al Rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, huyaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the Holy One of Blessing, who creates harmony in the heavens above, bring peace and comfort to all Israel, to all humanity. And we say together,
Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, huyaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru.
Amen. Please be seated. Once again, what a perfect evening. Temple Israel, you look beautiful. You look beautiful this evening.
Amen. And you sound beautiful too.
Absolutely. In a moment, we're going to invite those who have not yet reached the age of bar or bat mitzvah. And for some of us, that can be an advanced age. We know we can become bar or bat mitzvah at later dates in our lives. But for those of us who are not yet at the age of 13, we'll say, we'll invite you for a little Kiddush and a little motzi. I know there's some playing around here and some in the back. We'll invite you guys up for grape juice and challah. And of course, at the conclusion of the service, we especially invite those who are new to the Temple Israel community or new to Shabbat on the Beach to come here and meet us. I think Cantor Kadrana and Rabbi Pleasant are still new to many, many of you, even though you're veterans of Temple Israel and veterans of Shabbat on the Beach. So this is a wonderful time to hang out and maybe not shake hands and hug, but at least to greet one another. So first of all, those who are have not yet reached the age of bar or bat mitzvah, please join us over here for Kiddush and Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדיש השבת. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shalom bimromav yaseh shalom aleinu. Shalom bimromav.
We wish you peace in your heart, in your home, in our world. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.